What is going on? I'm the Otaku, and this is part 3 of Training for the Gourmet World arc, the true ending of the cooking festival. Gonna go through the entire manga, how it actually ended instead of what was in the anime, and where we stopped is right when Komatsu ended winning and getting into the making it to the finals, getting into what in the anime is like 16 bracket style, but in the manga it's actually 36 or 32, but it doesn't really matter because shit's about to go down. But so we're gonna go through the entire manga up until the end of the arc, and I have like 200 and something individual pages, panels, whatever you want to call them. So let's get started. Here you just see, we'll just start. This is basically like in the manga, all that stuff was like they just made all the, like, except for the first event, the last two events weren't even in the manga. They were just like he did this, and now he's in the finals. So before he even gets to face Zaus, he meets his other friend that, like, him, Otake, and this dude Ume were all in school together, and so his buddy's there, and they meet up for a first time they've seen in a while. And he was like, what happened to Take? And he's like, oh, I've been gone for whatever. And Komatsu doesn't tell him that, he was taken by the Gourmet Corps. And then the 4 Heavenly Kings show up and they introduce, and you find out that the Ume is actually like the heir to this super famous cooking school. And that's like that little short school-looking cook is actually like one of the cooks that cook at that school, I guess, to train people. And you find out that he's actually a chef for the third antagonistic group that comes in here that's going to show up in this arc. And he actually works for one of the bosses. And then they are talking, so Komatsu's getting a pep talk from, Sunny, Coco, and all them. And then Toriko hears from Zebra that the Gourmet Corps has showed up. And this is when Komatsu he's going into face Zaust. They go into like this giant tent that I guess it's like it was like darkness cooking was like their style, or their like type of competition. They were supposed to do like in complete darkness, and then someone grabs his hand, which if you should know is obviously Starjin. But then, like I said, all the panels are all over the place. But those giraffe birds, when the Gourmet Corps comes, those giraffe birds just they just slice all their heads off. But they're still alive, which we'll see. But here Starjin comes to get Komatsu. They're coming to get all these chefs to bring them to the Gourmet world. And then you see that all those GT robots I can't remember what arc, but all those GT robots they were building, they have them come, and there's beasts from the Gourmet world are coming to attack, and Manson and Reen are gonna start fighting all them. And you see that they grow there, like you can see there at like the halfway, their heads grow back, and they enter this thing called carnivore mode, where they get to they shoot like fire blasts out of their mouths and shit. And Manson's about to wreck all of them. I can't remember if it's in this arc or the next one that goes into his backstory, but it kind of does a little bit, but it doesn't give you like the full thing, I don't think. But anyway, back with Starjin, Coco tries to put some poison on him to like slow him down to get Komatsu away, but Starjin just uses one of his flame techniques and just burns it away. And then Sunny tries to use his hair lock on him, and he just burns the entire tent that they were under, just completely gone. And then Toriko shows up. I love the way this is drawn. It's drawn so well. But Toriko's just like, let's go. The anime did not do it justice for their fight. Like, the fight in the anime was just, I don't even want to say it was trash, but like compared to what happens in the manga, it's so much better. And so they're about to start fighting, and you see Zaust, which is, the #1 chef. He is dead, or he got burned by Starjin's fire. And then you see Setsuno down there like, what's going on? And Toriko, they're about to fight, so he hits a leg knife, blasts just a straight through the entire Coliseum that they're in, blasting Starjin around. Coco's out here killing all these beasts that are coming in, and then his poison gets sucked up by Grimpatch. And I think that dude got 2 more arms. I forgot that he because he had 4, and then I guess he got 2 more arms. And so they're about to start fighting, and then Sunny, as he tries to grab Komatsu away, his hair gets pinched, obviously, by Tommy Rod after he's healed, and I'm gonna have to put a little clip in there because I can't wait, his final, not even his final form, but like his final hair color that we see. It happens in this arc, and it's so exciting. But he fights Tommy Rod, and then all the chefs and all the gourmet hunters and all the people there are trying to defend themselves against the beasts and the Gourmet Corps coming. And this is where you see that Setsunu notices that Zaus just dips, and that all 4 of these dudes, not that taste test guy, but all 4 of these dudes down here are in part of a group that we're about to find out about here. Toriko just does, I think, like 1, 2, 3 Kugi punchies and just punches him all the way to a new spot, and they're about to, like I said, it's gonna go down between them way better in here than it was. Like when I read this, I was like, they did it dirty in the anime. It was so much better, so much better. And you can see their appetite demons about to go down over here. Manson is destroying every single one of these beasts and every single one of these GT robots. Powerful as shit. And then Reen is fighting some of the higher ups in the Gourmet Corps, and she ended up having like a fragrance sword. I don't think I put the panel in here, but she ends up having like this. It kind of reminds me of like Proto Man's sword from Mega Man, but it kind of looks something like that. And then Setsuno is about to go off too. I forgot about that. She's about to go off, and she has like this pressure cook technique. Like if you stand in a certain amount of her radius, like everything just smashes together. It's crazy. And then Chiyo comes, and they start to fight, and she doesn't really want to fight him, but then the Gourmet Corps, they actually bring out their Nitoros. They have 3 of them that they have right here, and then that giant skeleton thing in the back right there is the thing that they're gonna throw all the chefs into. And so Zebra's about to go ham, but Live Bear tries to attack one of the Nitoros, and his swords aren't doing nothing. And then they just straight cut his whole, and they just chop his whole body in half. But there's some revivers there, as you can see, that come and they save him. And they put him back together, so he's fine. But I don't remember if that happened in the anime or not. And you can see here they're throwing some chefs in there to take back with them. And Yoon saving Komatsu. Nice little wall penguin to save him, and he can fly now. And then you see Grimpatch, like all the poison that they don't really show you the fight between Coco and Grimpatch, but like all the poison that Sunny's dishing out at him, he's just sucking it all up, no problem, and it's not having any effect on him. So Coco ends up talking to Sunny and telling him like they're fighting for the chefs, because during that 100-year war, they were like, that's what they were fighting for, the chefs, to make everyone be able to be fed and all that. And then he eventually takes Grimpatch and throws both of them down into that big ass hole. And then Coco finds something interesting that we'll find later on while he's down there. And unfortunately, Sunny has to fight these ugly ass bugs. I'm like, nah, not me. I wouldn't be doing that. But he always gets stuck with the gross things that he doesn't like. But you can see all the bugs that Tommy Rod is now able to summon after, being beaten by Toriko, essentially. Uses his hair to pretty much take out most of them, but then he has this, that new parasite that just can snip through Sunny's hair. And this is when you see his new form, Satan hair, which is basically like Super Saiyan Sunny. It's like, I'm gonna put what it looks like in the anime, like the actual picture, but it's like it's not cuttable. It can't be cut. Hair is super strong. It's said that like even one he basically puts his appetite cells into the hair, and they just consume everything. He was like, if I just let it go, it would eat the entire world on its own, no problem. And then I don't think I put it in here, but it had like. So I think it's his appetite demon that's just like in this jar. It has like the metaphorical jar that it's in, and it's just like peeking out ever slowly. And you can see here it just like devours that. I think it was, if I remember right, that thing's like over level 100 capture level, and it just eats it, no problem. And then Tommy Rod's like, I'm gonna have to go full all out. You can tell he takes off all his ring things, and Sunny just straight up eats takes one of his arms off. And then this is when the whole like he says he doesn't have control over the hair yet, so it's like he's slowly learning to take over to be able to control the hair and stuff. So eventually he wraps up Tommy Rod. Eventually he wraps him up, and that's it. Tommy Rod's. He's not gone, but I'm not gonna, like, no spoiler. He's gone, but he's not gone, and you'll see like in the later arcs that he's gone. He's gone here, but he's not gone completely. And this is when we meet the third those are like the third like major group that's in here that's trying to obtain God. But that dude he basically betrayed Ichiryu and the IGO. He was in Biotope Zero, and so was that little hermit dude that they're talking to. And so he saw Ume trying to like look in on their little conversation that they were having, and he was like, oh, this is a rabbit. He's like, no, that's my chef. And so they're talking about all the people that have betrayed the IGO to come over to their side. And it is Neo, which is run by Joey, which is another one of the antagonists. You can see here that they're like, we got to take out Setsuno, and they have Nitaro, and then Zoust is actually with Nero as well. And we'll have a full panel of all the Nitaro members, or not Nitaro, all the Neo members that are all, once it's said and done, there'll be a full panel of that, because there's too many people to even discuss. But so here I think I just put it because Joey, which is they're showing that he's going to show up soon. And here's Branch fights, I think it's the first Branch, and he beats him. He has like these electric powers where he can like generate electricity essentially, and the dude wouldn't die, basically just shocked him over and over and over and over again. And the way I think the last attack he did was like, every time you regenerate, it's just going to keep shocking you. So you're just going to be in this cycle of death over and over and over again. And this is when you find out that Umen, which is this dude, which is one of the IGO, like one of the top IGO guys, and Shige, which is this dude, which is like another chief of the IGO, like where they have both betrayed Ichiryu and the IGO and are actually working for Nero. And him and Manson are about to fight, and again, they don't really go like their fight. They don't really have their fight in there. But now it's Zebra's turn, and as you can see, he's out here killing all these beasts, no problem. And then he takes out both those. So like when those two dudes were throwing chefs left and right into that thing, Zebra takes him out, bam, no problem. And then he starts to fight the three Nitaro by himself, and you can see here he's crushing one, and then the other two start to attack, and he's like, sound bazooka, bow, and he destroys damn near the entire stadium, or not the entire island, but like the shockwave from that bazooka radiates through the entire island essentially. And here you can see more Setsuno versus Chiyo. Setsuno versus more Chiyo. I can never get there. There's so many mix up with their names, and they're fighting, and they're just like, Setsuno's over here like, my toe, stop with my toe and shit. I told you, she's badass as fuck. And then, you know, they're about to, she stops, and then that guy just grabs her, and it's like, oh, come on, join us. And then this guy uses some kind of like weird jutsu, I mean, if you want to call it like a jutsu or something, but it's like, it basically takes the calories that they've consumed and gives it to him. And then you see Zaus over here just like slice. And then Setsunu's like, if you don't put me down, I'm about to fuck you up. And she basically like just pressure cooks this dude's hand, which actually isn't his hand. It just turns out to like, it turns into a pot, and then it's not, you know, his hand is fine. And then they go into the history of the cooking festival, where there's, you know, there's been only five winners. You know, Zaust, Yuta, Branch, her, and then Chiyo have won. But then they go into, there was actually one more, which was Joey, which it turns out that he either cheated or something, broke several rules, and so they like erased it from history, and he was banned from ever participating again. So, and then Zhao stabs Chiyo. I don't remember, you know, because she wouldn't join and all that. And then Zaus is like, come on, join us. And Setsu's like, don't raise my blood pressure. And she's about to press everybody and destroy everybody in this Coliseum. And then when Komatsu, because Komatsu's been on his way this whole time to go to Toriko, he sees, this isn't the end of the fight, but he sees, you know, Toriko beat to hell. Both of them beat to hell. But he sees that with Starjin holding Toriko like that. And then Toriko's meets his appetite demon, not because he's out of food, you know, he learned food's end, so he has just, you know, a plethora of food just stored inside of him. And this is when, you know, he's like, you like the food? He asks his appetite demon if he's like, you like the food I brought you? He's like, yeah, but he was like, you need to eat his full course. And at first I was thought, it says, because this is like, I got these from online, you know, so they're not like the actual translations. So it says like, prepare that man's full course. And so like at first I thought they were talking about Ichiryu's full course, but I think I'm probably sure that they're talking about Acacia's, which is, you know, preparing God and all his other full courses, because in the next saga, like when you eat each of his full courses, that's when it goes into like appetite energy and all that stuff. So I think that's why he's saying like prepare his full course. That's why people try to look for his full course to become more powerful. And then while Toriko's down, you know, Starjin's like, come with me, I'm gonna take you, you're gonna come to the gourmet world. And Toriko gets up, and they're about to go at it after Toriko gets up. And you can see here, like I didn't say I didn't go into the fights, but like in the you know, if I can do the manga where I don't have to like rush through everything, I can just slowly talk about it, you know, I can slowly more, plus it's such a badass fight that like they didn't do it justice I keep saying it, but they didn't do it justice in the anime at all. And so Toriko's getting ready, and this is like an after, it's not an after image, it's like a thought in Toriko's head, and Starjin's able to dodge it. And then Toriko does I think it's a Kugi Punchin, just like try to blast. And then this is where you learn about, what do I even call it? He learns about, he learns about, I'm trying to think of the word for it that they used. It was like, kind of like Takima's pre-shot routine. It's like, you know, when Toriko goes like this, it's like his knife and fork. That's like his pre-routine for his stuff. So like I is teaching him about like the pre-shot routine and like why it's important. It's like you have to imagine what you're going to do before you do it. And then, you know, so Starjin, you know, that's what, like, he puts that attack, and then he imagines it, and Starjin gets blasted. You know, and then here, this is like, see, this was like, I don't want to give it away, but like, this is when you find out, like, that's Manson right there laying on the ground, and you find out that, like, his powers were technically locked up-ish by Ichiryu, and then that's how he was a bandit before, and then he came to work for the IGO under Ichiryu. And he was like, I've never lost a fight, and the first time he loses a fight is to Ichiryu. And so, you know, they're still at it, they're still fighting, him and Shuge are still fighting. Then we go back to inside the Colosseum, where Setsuno is about to go off against Zaust, and you see here Zebra's literally beating the shit out of all three of these Nitro, whereas before, you know, in the Melanchola arc, like they could barely stand against one of them, and now he can beat the shit out of three different ones by himself. And here you see Grimpatch comes out of that big hole. Like I said, they didn't go into detail what happened. It's kind of just like an after thing that happens after everything's said and done, after everything finishes, and they're like, okay, bam. And then more pre-routine stuff where Toriko's just imagining. And then here you see it's like, because it's like, you know, I didn't go into the anime, but it's like eventually like the image of everything, like the image of every beast or every person they're fighting, it like you'll end up on my dinner plate, and I'm gonna devour you, basically. And so that's like what that image is. And all those knife and fork come to attack him, and then he brings out his flame sword, which just like incinerates all of them. And it's like, you know, it's a cooking utensil basically. I don't even think it's like an actual weapon. You know, not a weapon, but you know, it's a cooking utensil that he uses. And so you can see here that Starjin has also learned, I guess you can say he learned the pre-shot thing from just seeing Toriko do it, and then now he can do it. And you see here he's going to slice Toriko in half, and you can see Toriko dodges, but he literally like slices through the entire earth, and it's just melting. And now you see that Jiro is coming with Terry and Queen and Kiss, and then this giant thing, I don't remember what it was called, but this giant thing, it was like, apparently was extinct before, and they were like the only one that can bring it, and he was like, this is what I used to knock back in my day when I was in the Gourmet world. And it was like the only person that could have brought this back was Moyan Shishi, which is, you know, the greatest reviver that Tepe and that girl were talking about. And so he's on his way to the Colosseum. And you see here more pre-shot routine. They're fighting. Toriko actually makes his own new armor, like fork armor, which is pretty badass. And then they're just, love these panels. Like that, if you like watch the anime one, and then look at this, and they're completely different, because this is nothing like how they fought in the anime. And he's able to get his Kugi punch, because he has 60 nail gun, but then he's up to 70 just regular Kugi punchy. But he hits that, but his leg is literally just like sliced off by Starjin, and so he loses a leg, and then he loses his side. I don't know what you want to call it, but he loses his side, and then he loses his arm after he tries to attack Starjin again. Starjin literally blows off his whole arm, you know, so now he's hobbling around. But, and then Starjin just hits him with another attack, smashes him into the wall, and then not defeated yet, but this is when Komatsu comes to try and help with his milk knife, and he just, whoop, so powerful, such a powerful knife. And he's like, I'll fight you to protect Toriko. And this is when you see Toriko's appetite demon manifest, but it's not a manifestation, it's like an actual thing that like his body's being taken over, I guess you can say, or he thinks that he's doing something to Komatsu, so now he's getting enraged. And then this is when you see that Starjin just gets his own side just gets straight punched through by what he thinks is a manifestation of Toriko, but it's not. It's like an actual. It's an actual a physical manifestation of his appetite demon that just attacked him, thinking that it's impossible to do. And so now Starjin, which I don't know why is it in the, it's on the side here, but then it looks like it's in the middle there, so I don't know, that's kind of weird. But so Starjin goes down, and then for the most part, I think that's over for the fight, like that's it. And then Komatsu's like, I have to save, Toriko. And so he was like, I'll go with you if you let me save Toriko. He was like, I'll let me, heal him, and then I'll do whatever you want. So you can see here they're both beaten and battered, and Starjin's beast comes to pick him up, and they're going back to the stadium. And this is when Joey shows up with Teppei, which he has also betrayed. I wouldn't even say the IGO. He's just, he's on Neo's side now. And this is when you find out that 3 of the G7 members are also... Jesus. 3 of the G7 members are also a part of Neo, and they've defected to Neo as well. And eventually, like I said, Teppei and Joey have come. They lock Zebra. Like, Teppei uses some of his reviver powers to lock up Zebra. And then when he jumps down, Joey pulls out this knife that Setsunu's like, that's a special knife. And then it actually turns out to be, so yeah, before I forget, because there's different, like, each Nitro is a different color, and they're all like different tribes, if you want to say it's something like that. They have blue Nitro, red, so on, yada yada yada. So like they're all different ones, and like the different colors are like different strengths, if I'm remembering right. But she's asking where she got that knife from, because that knife actually used to belong to Froze, which was Acacia's wife. And like, while Acacia is the, he's like the greatest gourmet hunter, she was the greatest, she's like a god chef to them, like to chefs. So she was the greatest chef, and like he was the greatest gourmet hunter. So now, yeah, so Joey attacks Setsuno, and you see her block it, and that one attack just, like we thought Zebra out here was doing damage, that one attack literally destroyed, like, what would you even call that, like a tenth of the arena by just one slice. And it's not even just like just the arena, it goes all the way out to the other side. It even split the water, one of the dudes says. And you can see here, I think that's when it shows, I think after Zebra beat the shit out of this one, he didn't kill it, he just like knocked it out or whatever. And then Joey uses the knife to make it come over to his side, basically. So, and then Teppei, Teppei's over here, like, trying to lock everybody up, and you see a finger about to, like, choop, and you see, like I said, you see a finger and just choop, and it literally just, like, blows its head off. And I mean, I'm pretty sure you can see there, it was Jiro that just ploop, and he just literally kills one Nitro in one hit. And then you see Teppei over here trying to lock him up, and then the reaction of Jiro, which kind of like stuns him and stuns it stuns everybody. And then so this is when Joey talks about, like, oh, you were the disciple of Acacia and all this, like, part of his strength was sealed away, so I'm assuming, he was way stronger, but he was saying, you want to come over to my side, and fight with me to find God. And I love the panel. He's like, "You stupid? You an idiot?" And then he does like, I wouldn't even say it's like one of my favorite guys, but it's just like something that was like when I saw it in the anime, it was so dope. It was like grand knocking. It's just like bow, and he smashes the ground. And it literally stops the rotation of the Earth for like 1 second, and then he it just literally just creates tornadoes and tsunamis and freezes everybody in place. Like nobody can move. Like everybody's frozen, except for like Joey and all the other people that are whatchamacallit, that are powerful enough to not be stopped by his knocking. And so he tries to attack him to see who it is, because they don't even know what Joy actually looks like, and it turns out to be Froze. I don't ever knew how to like say her name, but that's basically what she looks like, but not with all those lines in her face. And then that tsunami's coming, and Joey is just like shoop, swing, and just cuts that whole tsunami in half. And they do a combo attack to try to, Setsuno and Jiro try to do a combo attack on her. It's like doop, and she just blocks. I like it. His attacks are all like, not all, but some of them are not drunk stuff, but like beer, the Guinness punch. So he attacks, and she just straight one slice, bam. Doesn't do anything to her. Her. I don't know what they classify as. I don't know what it would be as. But this is where they go that I guess they say she here. So I guess it's she. But anyway, they're like, it shows like after that attack, they're like, it shows that her gourmet cells has like evolved to a certain level, and that like it didn't show in the panel, but like if it showed, I didn't put it in the panel, but like it it's like her face changed to like show her appetite demon, I guess you can say, in and of it, like in the reflection, and she's eaten it. They're like, oh, she's obviously eaten Acacia's full course to be able to get there. And the only people that have eaten that full course is like Acacia and Froce originally. So yeah, so they're like, oh, that's impossible, it can't be her because she's dead, which we'll learn a little bit later why. Stargin shows up, and Joey's like, give me that chef, and he's like, nah, bruh. He's like, I'm not gonna do that. And so this is when it starts to, I wouldn't even say hail, it's just things start to come down, like pebbles, rocks, whatever you want to call it, start to come down. Stargin opens his third eye. That's, because you can see his appetite demon has that, like it only has one eye, but it's like his third eye. And yeah, so his appetite demon appears, and they're not gonna fight, but they get the feeling that something's happening, and he's like, he tells Jiro, release your knocking, because meteor spice is gonna fall, and if you don't reverse it, everyone's gonna die, basically. So he's like, I got no choice, and he was like, we're leaving. So they leave, and then Joey tells all of Neo to leave, so they all leave. And you see here, like, their Shuge disappears on them, and now Manson just collapses. Well, he doesn't collapse, but he's just standing there all beat up, and then now you see this panel where he just sees all these things start to rain down like meteors, And this is just from the panel at the end of the manga. And now we can get to the Gourmet world, where Midora and, God, look at that knife though. Like, that's freaking huge, ridiculous. Like, it's so gaudy. But we can get to where Midora and Ichiryu are going to fight. Like, in here it shows that Ichiryu has all those people from Biotope Zero at different spots, looking for the different parts of Acacia's full course. I just put these in here because But like, look at these. That's creepy as hell. That one on the right, creepy as shit looking. But also, I think these were like people. I don't know if they were like other, like manga artists drew these to put in here, or like because I think they had like other people draw them and they submitted them, which I think is pretty cool. But like, you know, they're level 388 and level 417, and so he's like, let's go farther away to fight. So they go farther away, and this is when you see Midoriya's, like, I wouldn't even say true power, but you can see what his powers are and how strong Ichiryu really is. And yeah, so Hungry Tongue is his thing, and so his tongue literally, it's kind of like, if the way I could describe it, in terms, it's kind of like Sunny's Satan hair, where like anything it touches, it'll devour. And like those little two things are chopsticks, but they're not like tiny chopsticks. They're like chopsticks that are like, what, like 20 feet long, that Ichiryu can control. And he's just like, so he was holding on to that beast that Midoriya came in riding on, and Midoriya just was like, shoot, and ate that beast anyway. And then he tries to attack, Ichiryu with it, blows a freaking hole straight through the floating island they're on. Then it turns into, he can turn his tongue into some thorns and I guess release more tongues attacking Ichiryu. This fight also got me, like the Toriko fight with Toriko and Starjin was one thing that I was like, oh man, that's like, they did it dirty. But this fight right here, like, the anime was like, oh, we're gonna give you like this much, and the fight in the manga is just like long, not even long, but it's more, there's more, let's just put it that way. It's so much more than this. It's just not, they did it dirty. They did this one dirty too, because, but also they did a different ending, so I understand why it's not, because what happens in here and what happens in the anime are two completely different things. Well, so they're fighting, and, Ichiryu throws a chopstick at him, and he eats it and swallows it, teleports behind him, goes to get him, and then he just like reminds me of that dude off of One Punch Man. Damn, I can't remember his damn name. Too many names to try to remember for all these people. But attack him here, and then he activates his minority world. Ichiryu does, and Midoriya also has his own world, if you want to call it that. But he activates minority world, where it'll be in here in a second what he does. But so Midoriya keeps on attacking, they're fighting, attacking, and then eventually he just stops. It's like it finally catches up with him when he activated Minority World, which, like, it's kind of weird to explain because I've never fully understood like what it did, but it just like, I think it just like stopped everything in like all the air or all the stuff in the spherical world around Ichiryu is just like gone. So he's not taking in any oxygen, that the blood's not pumping in his system. So he's about to pass out or whatever. And so you can see here, it's like, yeah, your lungs stop absorbing oxygen, your liver's not doing anything, your heart muscles stop pumping, means your blood's not moving, So this is when he's like, because they fought before, this is when Ichiryu's like, I should have killed you. Like not the same fight, but like the fight happened between them when they were younger. Which is also crazy, because they were like, if I remember, they were like, he's like 500 years old, which is ridiculous. But, they, he was like, they fought before. He was like, it's over. I should have killed you, the first time we fought. Yeah, so he was like, I should have killed you at the end of that day. He was like, and I regret it every single day. And he always calls him little brother, because, they're disciples, but in a couple panels we'll find out that they're siblings. Him, Jiro, Ichiryu, they're all siblings. And then here you see that as he's about to attack, his chopstick gets eaten, and then he has like stabbed his own chest to like get his heart to start pumping again, I guess you can say. And then he activates his own, like I said, he has his own, it's called Hungry Space, which just like devours anything in his spherical bubble, you know. And so like, yeah, this is like the comparison between the two. Hungry Space, you can see it's like eating away, and this one's like constricting all oxygen, I guess, if you want to say, in his space. And here he actually rescinds it, and the second like the hole that he dug in his chest, so you can hear he's like, now he's bleeding all over the place after he gets which I think this might be the end of the fight, if I'm not mistaken. After he starts to eat, basically starts to devour Ichiryu, and he's like, he's like, you know, because if you watch the whole thing, you just see he's constantly eating, like he's never satisfied, his stomach's never satisfied, and we'll go into why he's never satisfied and he's always hungry. But also like his like, as much as Ichiryu's full course is interesting, which is in the next arc, the Billion Bird arc, as interesting as his Midori's is actually more interesting because it's not actually food. You know, I don't want to give it away and say what it is, but it's not food. It's very interesting full course he has. But this, okay, see, now we're gonna get into where like Midori came from, because but so this was during the Gourmet War and all that, and he was actually born to he wasn't born to like be a baby. He was born, or not be a baby, but you know, to live on in life. He was born as food for these pigs to you know, he was food for livestock basically, and so that's what they bred him for, because there wasn't enough food to go around during this war. And eventually, you know, as he grows older, he's stealing food, trying to survive, and this is when he runs into Fro, we can just call her Fro because I don't particularly know how to say her name, but Fro sounds, I don't know. Froze, you know, she takes them back to their world, not world, but back to her hut, and they actually live in the Gourmet world. So like the entire time all these dudes are growing up, they all live in the Gourmet world. They don't live in the human world, if I'm not mistaken. I think they just live in the Gourmet world. So he wakes up, you know, she cooks some food, and for the first time in his life, he's never, you know, he was actually full. You know, he ate and he was satisfied and he was full. And so this is when he also doesn't know, like, I don't know why she wouldn't tell him, but she doesn't know that like Acacia and Jiro and Ichiryu are all like, they're all a family and whatever. So the first time he just like starts attacking them and shit. Eventually, you know, they become a family, and you know, they work together to go get beasts and, you know, train and live in the Gourmet world. It's funny ass Jiro face right there. But yeah, so you can see here they're just training, having a good time as a family, eating, going and getting beasts. And then it shows here the 4 beast attacks, and Ichiryu stops it. Like I said, he stops it by himself. The 4 beasts, 4 individual beasts, he stops by himself. And you can see Jiro goes to find the main body and knocks the main body. So he sealed it. And then, where's the gathering ingredients? And this is an end of another chapter where they're at the home, and they feel the presence of people, something coming to the dancing. The blue Nitaro come to them. So Frose and Acacia leaving the 3 behind to do whatever the fuck ever, I guess. So they leave, and then this is when they leave, and then they come back. So they come back, and as you can see, Frose is being carried by Acacia. And she's talking about, she was like, I had to cook an ingredient that I wasn't used to, which I'm assuming she's talking about God. You know, that's my only assumption, but you don't know for sure, I don't think. Ugh. So Midora sees her like that, and he's upset, and he's like, I want to help you, I want to save you. So he goes to one of the 8 kings, which is in the Gourmet world, because he has this water, this cure water that can save you, and like he gets beat up bad. And so instead of using the water on him, she uses her cooking god, uses her power to save him, and then unfortunately she dies after saving him, and they bury her. You know, and this is when Acacia tells them to like not live for food, but like, you know, family and all this. And then I wouldn't even say at the end, but you can see that Midora's so sad that he can't, you know, he literally, after he was strong enough, he would just go back to that get that cure water over and over and over and over again, and just pour it on her grave, trying to bring her back to life. And this is when you see when they're grown up, and Midora and Ichiryu fight just like before, and looks exactly the same. And so, you know, he was like, I'm always hungry, after she died again. And then you can see here that something popped out of the ground, but you don't know what it is. And you can see here, you know, back with their fight again. Right as Ichiryu is about to smash him with that giant chopstick, it just gets straight shredded. More attacks, and eventually straight just gone from the middle. He falls over, and he's like, you know, Midora's upset, crying. He's like, I'm always hungry. And this is when he activates Meteor Spice, and then you see he's like, goodbye, brother. And he, you know, straight punch, and now he's alone again. Yeah, I'm seeing this where he activates Meteor Spice, and then you can see here he actually didn't kill Ichiryu. He missed. Well, I didn't miss, but he whatchamacallit. This is where he tells that, Ichiryu tells, like I said, his full course is not like a normal full course, but he was like, this is where my full course, it's time to shine. Because he knew that Meteor Spice was going to happen if something destroyed the world. He was like, we're going to need something to feed everybody in the human world, because everyone's not going to be able to procure their own food. So he's like, there's going to be someone that can cook. Because it's not even really cook, it's just someone who can figure out how to use his full course, you know, I mean, use the ingredients that he had. And this is where you see the Meteor Spice just raining down on all the entire human world, and then them trying to stop as much damage as they can. And then this is before Ichiryu goes. This is when he tries to tell him about the real enemy that they have, which is in, you know, it's like the IGO, the Gourmet Corps. It's like, that's not the real enemy that you have to deal with. And so they're leaving out. The Stargen's leaving out as Meteor Spice comes down, and then you can see at the end of this chapter, Komatsu's healed Toriko. He's healed his injuries, and he's slowly waking up. And then gets into the next chapter starts with like getting into the 8 kings, which is just like, they're not even in the Gourmet world yet, but it goes into like the beasts that basically rule the entire Gourmet world. And so they eventually get into that, and you'll see that like the 3 beasts that Toriko, Sunny, and Coco have, you know, works into like becoming the beasts kings and whatever. But so that's just put there, but I didn't really go into much specific detail. But they were saying that when Toriko awoke, like he was this changed man, and they all felt his presence like once he awakened. And you can see he's seeing here that the Meteor Spice, and then here, oh okay, so I keep forgetting when Yosuka is fighting this dude, and he's like, actually, I know where Moyanshishi is, and he's not with the Gourmet Corps. He's actually with another. He's in the same organization. But he's like, but it's not the Gourmet Corps. So this is when he finds out that people are also betraying the Gourmet Corps to get in with Neo. And they're defeated. Then so you can see all the people that Ichiryu sent out was all defeated by somebody. Well, not somebody, you know, either Gourmet Corps or Neo that was sent out there in the human world, or the whatchamacallit, the Gourmet world. And this is when he tends, he's like, this is where you're trying to get your hands on God. He was like, the reason why I had so many, not so many, members in Biotope Zeros to avoid, not spoilers, but avoid, you know, moles, but that's not happened anyway. And this is when he tells him that Acacia actually had Froze killed for a certain reason, like everything that happened, like him getting the water, him getting the water, her cooking God, this and that, like the thing with the blue nitro, like it was all planned by Acacia, and this is where he learns that. And then right as they're still talking, I think it's a blue nitro, he says, just literally comes up and freaking smashes Ichiryu. And that's what kills him. And he's like, oh, this is what, he's like, that's what kills him. He's like, oh, so this is what he's talking about. Because it literally just came, killed him, and then just straight disappeared. It just ran away after that. And, so he was like, Ichiryu wasn't really he wasn't going to kill me, And so Ichiryu unfortunately dies. This is where he says, I'm gonna bring him to the place that he loves the most to bury him. And that's what I was saying in like the first video, was like, he's not necessarily like he is the antagonist-ish, but he's not necessarily like, I wouldn't deem him as like necessarily evil. You know what I mean? Like, as you find out, like, the reason why he's hungry is because this person that took care of him this person that took care of him got killed. The person, like, what he longed for was family, and then he lost his family, and so, like, he lost even more of his family. So, but this is just, this Gourmet town just devastated after meteor spice. Why is it not going? Okay. And then you can see just, like, all the food that they had when we were able to get just gone. They can't get any food now. IGO headquarters. And I find this funny as shit because they, in order to heal Manson, they dump alcohol on him. And now this is when, they name him, president. I don't know if this is what he is named president of the IGO now, because they eventually get the message that Ichiryu has died. Chiyo she's in life, getting healed. Chin's there, with Setsuno, and you can see that he's happy that she didn't die, and she's finally like not, I wouldn't even say she was evil, but she's just like, now she's like, oh, everything's fine, her son's still dead, but she's like, okay. And Toriko is finally he's realized that Komatsu's gone, like he couldn't save Komatsu's gone, but and then that little girl right there has like some ice magic powers, and she froze all these ingredients because Ichiryu knew that shit was gonna go down, and they needed ingredients. So, so it's like froze all these ingredients to keep their freshness. And then Starjin and them make their way back to the Gourmet Corps headquarters, and they see it's just completely destroyed. Or I'm not sure if it's like on fire, destroyed. And here is the full panel of the of the Gourmet Corps. See, like you say here, you see Zoust, you see chefs that were all in the Gourmet Corps. You see people that were in IGO. There's Tepe. So all these people were either in and they all defected to Neo. And here's when, oh yeah, so now we're in like the past. We're in, not in the past. We're in the future after everything's said and done. You know, meteor spikes hit the ground. All the stuff got destroyed. That looks like it's gonna fall over at any point. But Coco looks like that because he says he used too much poison, and he looks like an old man now. Like in the, I think of the anime, he has like old white hair, and he looks like an old man. But he goes into when he was down there with Grimpotch, he found this thing, this rock down there that when he was like, he feels the magnetic waves off it, and he was like, something about this rock is just like not right. And then Sunny touches it, and he was like, it's sucking out like his energy, like his calories are being drained from it, like thinking that it's alive, like something's sucking out their energy. And so this is when they go to like what the actual world, like how their world actually forms. So like it's not like, it wasn't like, oh, the human world and then the Gourmet were already a thing. They think that this thing spread out over our world, like the regular Earth, and then like encompassed. That's why you can see this giant one on the bottom. It's like it encompassed the original Earth, and now like that whole top side is the Gourmet world. So he's explaining, he thinks that's what happened to the planet originally. And this is when they're like, oh, we need to get Ichiryu, because they still haven't found his last, I think it's a dessert. I don't think they found a dessert. They need to find his last ingredient to his full course. They're like, we gotta go get that. So they're like, okay. Toriko actually found data when they were in Live Bear's mind thing, his memory bank. He was like, Toriko actually found data about what his full course is about. He was like, you said it couldn't be delicious by any means, but it's like you can prepare it and it'll be infinite and you'll never run out of it ever. So they're like, we gotta find his the rest of his full course. And then this is when Toriko, you know, he's bummed that he lost to Starjin. He's bummed that he got Komatsu. You know, Komatsu got taken. And this is when he finds out that, you know, Jiro comes to talk to him, and this is when he finds out that Ichiryu's died. So they put a toast to him. You know, and then he's like, I'm weak. He's like, I'm not actually strong. And so Toriko walks away. You know, eventually he's just like, you know, still down, not happy. He's like, he walks away. But he's like, he's like, what's your dream though? You know, he's like, what did you want to do? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to remember that, like what he wants to do. So Starjin gets back, he sees their thing destroyed, and then Komatsu runs into Otake, but he just calls him Take, so, you know, he runs into him. And so Midora comes back, and this is when he's like, these are all the chefs we've gathered. He was like, you're all gonna be my chef, like you're all gonna be combo with me. And so they were like, oh, someone cook for me. You know, he was like, y'all cook for me, whatever. And he was like, if someone can make me say delicious, you know, I'll let you go. You know, you can leave. Because none of these people want to cook for him. So Komatsu's like, I'll cook. And so Komatsu starts cooking some shit for him. And he was like, I don't care who he is, I'm going to cook for him because I like making food for people. Very Komatsu-esque. So he's cooking, and the second, like, literally as he's putting the food down, Midora's just straight eating it, and then eventually, you know, he feels something, and Midora eventually just starts to laugh, and he asks him what his name is, and then this dude over here, I keep on thinking his name is like Alfredo, but it's kind of close to that, but it's like Al something. Alfred, it's just Al, but he's like, when I gave him that century soup, he didn't even do shit. And he was like, but this dude cooked him a whole meal, and he's like, so he asked him what his name is, he said, like, I'm Komatsu. And he was like, males are always better together, huh? And you know, it's putting that thing in Midoriya's head where he's like, yeah. And he's like, he was like, you can go if you want. You know, eventually tells Komatsu, he's like, you can leave, and Komatsu's like, I'm not leaving. Telling him, he was like, he was like, someone will come get me, I'm not worried about it. He was like, Toriko is gonna come get me. And then here, you know, this is after Toriko, he's not remembering why he's like, and he hasn't eaten like this entire time, it said. You know, he's like, what's my dream? And then all these people come up to him and it's like, you discovered this, thank you for this. Like all the ingredients he's ever discovered, not every one, you know, but like most, he was like, you discovered this, thank you, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, that's my dream, is to finish my full course and share it with the world, you know. So he remembers, then he goes, he's like, he remembers that, feeling better, and he's like, bam, I'm gone. He goes to the Gourmet world to go get Komatsu, and then he runs into that breath dragon, and literally just like, blow, beats the shit. He literally flying fork, smacks the fuck out of that thing, now that he's strong enough. And this is when you see it goes past, like, all these other gigantic ass beasts, or goes past, I can't even make out what that is, but like, it goes past this giant turtle thing, which is, look, level 972, and then this creepy looking four-armed crab thing, 1060. Thunderous devil catches his fork, and then this even bigger thing, literally freaking 2650, kind of looking like I think that dude from Ben 10. What is his name? Vilgax. Yeah, looking like Vilgax from Ben 10 over here. And then this even bigger, 4222. And then I don't know what that little thing there is supposed to be, but oh yeah, duh. I clipped the thing, of course. Yeah, of course. But 6,000. This is one of the 8 kings. 6,060, which is another battle wolf. That, you know, and this one, like, compared to Terry's, freaking gigantic. But then I think I clicked because it says, like, someone said, it was like, oh, it's like, because if you watch the show, which I love, it's like in the beginning they always do, like, it's like someone said that, and they always have all these foods, like so many different foods that like this different style of ways, in terms of like, oh, they said that candies, you know, made on this tree to yada yada yada. But it's like, you know, see, this is the king of ingredients god that's everyone's trying to get after. So, and then see, this should be the last panel, I think, and this is when he's like, Komatsu, I'm coming to get Komatsu. So, and I think, yeah, that's it. That was the last one. Yeah, so he's like, I'm coming to get Komatsu. So that is the end of the Cooking Festival arc, and that is the true ending of the Cooking Festival arc, and the end of the training for the Gourmet World Saga, which ends the Human World Act. So that's everything, because next, after this, they go straight into, well, they don't go straight into, but they go to the Gourmet World, and after that, it's just everything is the Gourmet World. So, like in the anime, after I found out that was not the real ending, I was super disappointed. And so, like, in the actual anime, the ending is like, Starjin and Toriko are like, oh, we're gonna fight, blah blah blah. They fight for a little bit, and then both of them make it back to the whatchamacallit. They make it back to brain fart. They make it back to the stadium, and then they fight Joey. You know, Starjin unlocks his third eye, and they start fighting, and then Toriko eventually, like, takes on this form of his appetite demon, and then Joey takes on like this weird overly grown form, and they fight, and then they beat, and then eventually, like, the fight between Midoriya and Ichiryu, like I said, is trash in comparison to this fight that's on here. But they, like, you know, they fight, and then they eventually come to an understanding, and then, you know, Midoriya's just like, it's basically just like everyone lives happily ever after, and it was just like that. If it's continuing, that's not how it ends. But that's, you know, that's it for, you know, that arc and that act right there. And we get into the Gourmet World arc. I would love to do, if people like this type style of video enough and want to know the ending and the Gourmet act, or the Gourmet World act of Toriko, You know, there's what I think like 6 or 7 more arcs, and the next arc you get to find out about Ichiryu's full course. So if you like this style of doing the manga, because it's all manga, you know, there's no anime. So if you like this, just let me know, and I will make a video, because like I said, Toriko is one of my favorites of all time, and I don't think it gets enough love. You know, not a lot of people know about it, but thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do, and I hope that it gets you into wanting to watch the anime, the full thing, and then read it, you know, because most people don't read. I feel like most people don't read animes, or mangas, I mean. But thank you. Like I said, if you like the thing, let me know, and I will make the next arcs. But that's it for now. Otaku out.